Hey there! Welcome to the Distracted Librarians podcast. We're your friendly neighborhood bookworms with a penchant for all things pop culture.
Picture this as our digital campfire, where we dive into our latest obsessions, analyze our favorite distractions, and rediscover the joy of reading.
Whether you're a media enthusiast, a book lover, or just need a break from the daily grind, you've come to the right spot.
So kick back, relax, and get delightfully distracted with us.
Hey everybody! On this episode of The Distracted Librarians, we're going to be talking about judging books by their covers. My name is Nicole.
I'm Killian.
And I'm Drew.
So the saying is, don't judge a book by its cover, but I think we all do it, right?
Absolutely.
And the industry depends on us doing so.
Exactly. It seems like there are lots of different types of book covers, right?
For sure.
So we have book covers that are really attractive or aesthetic. They have like a certain vibe. And then we have like informative book covers. And sometimes we'll see those kind of all over the place too, right? How can a cover draw us in to make us want to read them? What do you guys think? What brings you into wanting to read it?
So for me, it is a similar style to what I've already read. I think that cover design is sort of at its peak when it's reminiscent of other things. It all ties into the marketing of it. So if I read a book that has the illustrated romance cover and has the two people facing each other at the coffee table and lights in the background, whatever, and then I see another book that's similar to that 3 months later, I'm at least going to pick it up and see what it's about if I liked the first book.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you start getting these book cover trends because they're playing into, we want people to associate this book with this prior book or this prior style of book. But I will say I am a person who, if something is remarkably different from everything around it, I will take a look at it.
Yeah.
Because it will stand out on a shelf on its own anyway. And so I want to see, okay, what is this book that is so intentionally setting itself apart from the genre it's in or the section that it lives in. And it's always interesting to see kind of what those books are and then think about like why the cover is a little different.
Sure. I love a good book display.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just the thing. When I go into a bookstore, it just... If the display is like perfect for me, I'm going to be spending some time over there. Like you will not be able to drag me away. And sometimes I don't even know exactly why. But I love colorful things. I love covers that look witchy, covers that have lots of plants on them, or something spooky because I'm the spooky one. So typically, if it looks like a horror movie cover or something like that, I'm going to be pulling myself over there.
I think that's funny you mentioned that because I am very much if it looks like it's vaguely could be set in a world that you would play in D&D, I will pick it up.
There you go.
I will at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
And this is how I've ended up with so many books on my shelf that I haven't read yet.
Nice.
Or that I have.
That does tend to be the biggest problem is when I'm browsing, I'll find things.
Oh, yeah.
But then I've taken it home with no attachment to it, and then I have to put it on my shelf very strategically so I still see the cover and it keeps flashing in my mind.
So it doesn't just end up in a pile of things to read.
And that's the thing is the point of the book covers, I don't know that it's necessarily to get you to read the book. It's to get you to buy the book.
Yeah. Or at least pick it up.
Yeah.
Maybe because then once you pick it up, they've got their tenterhooks in you.
Yeah. And obviously, publishers are going to want you to read the book because then you talk about it and word of mouth and all of that. Maybe you post a review, etc. But, I mean, the big thing is they want your money. And so I think that's the thing is we all have these things that we're drawn to in book covers, and it's kind of matching what is going to appeal to a person who is going to read that book and enjoy it.
Sure.
Or at least like the concept of that book enough to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, how often do you think it's accurate that like an attractive book cover means that it's a good book for you personally?
I honestly don't know that I've ever like thought about it at the end point of the process.
Sure.
Same.
Sure.
Like by the time I've finished a book, I'm thinking about so much of the book that it's the reason I picked it up in the first place is the furthest thing from my mind.
Okay. So the cover no longer matters at that point. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like, don't judge a book by its cover because, yeah, the contents of it, once you read it, is going to take precedence no matter what. Mm-hmm. You just got to get there first. And unfortunately, the way we get there is the cover. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's interesting how cover styles have changed over time. I very distinctly recall seeing like the paper book or paperback romances that my aunt used to have that, I mean, they would like come in the mail or she would just go to the store and get them. They were monthly subscription.
Harlequin ones.
The really cheap ones.
With
And
Fabio and his 14 abs.
typically they would have like, you know, some scantily clad man and some woman with heaving bosom and so on and so forth. And I always thought that those were like kind of funny. I thought they were fun. I mean, as a kid, I'm just looking at this cover like, good God, what is that? And why do you want to read this? But like as an adult, okay, fine. Like he's hot or whatever. That could be a good book.
And you can still get those.
You can still get them? And they still look like that?
Yeah.
Really?
So romance is an interesting one because it's sort of split into its factions now.
Okay.
Where like the mass market paperback romances still exist. The Jane Ann Krentzes of the world, the Stephanie Perkins, that aspect, all of the Duke and like Regency romances. The covers will still look exactly like that.
Okay.
But then you get the, I don't want to say contemporary because some of them can still be historical, but like the modern day romance style.
Okay.
That's going to be, you know, a little bit more graphic with the sex in it, a little more like relatable, quote unquote. And those are marketed completely differently.
Okay.
Where there's sort of just a schism between them.
Sure.
To the point where Barnes and Noble doesn't even shelve them in the same place.
Oh.
Yeah, they do have two separate romance sections now, don't they?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This tells you about my
and I
shopping
know
habits.
that romance books now, typically their covers are, you know, they're not in the throes of passion on the cover. It's
Right.
typically, like you had said, you know, people sitting down for coffee or, you know, they're walking on the beach with their dog or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just a little bit more realistic, but the illustrations are more graphic, right?
I think they tend to be going for more relatability in a lot of those now. And you get that cartoony style that, you know, is so prevalent and so discussed.
I mean, I might not be as embarrassed to pick up a newer romance as I would have been picking up a Bodice Ripper from before because, like, geez, what is going on here? Okay. Well, let's see. Oh, styles?
Yeah, I think the cartoon style that we see in romances we talked about, but there's also a big thing lately, and it's interesting how I see this across genres with like the fancy typography, or there's a very like graphic designy background, but it's most of the cover is taken up by the title or the title and the author. And those are always interesting because sometimes if they've got that interesting graphic to it, it'll give you a hint at what the book's about. But a lot of times I'm just like,
how does this
I see
relate?
words.
Yeah.
What is the book?
Totally.
And all I have to go on is what it's shelved near.
Yeah, well, and Killian, you were talking a little bit about like these sort of Goodreads lists based on covers. Tell me more about that. I want to know about this.
So there is a trend that I've been well aware of for a long time because it's actually was an older trend among A lot of YA for a while, a lot of YA historical, but also getting into some historical of headless women on the cover of books. And so I was like, okay, was this just a thing that I'm remembering, or is this a thing that happened? So I started Googling it. And up pops this list on Goodreads that is headless women.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it is a list of books where the cover is all, it's, just the torso, or it's cut off maybe partway through the head, or the head is covered by something, or it's turned away so you can't see the person's face. And there were 623 books on it.
Wow.
There's also a library display that we did 3 or 4 months ago that was women walking away.
Yes.
A big thing in historical fiction.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And I know that some libraries in the past have done like this really cute kind of social media thing where they'll take a book cover and a staff member and they'll kind of like what did we
Bookface
call
Friday.
it? Bookface
Yeah, we used to do
Fridays.
that.
Yeah, we used to do that at the library, and there are other libraries that do it. And sometimes it's such a cute way to kind of show off a book, but using the cover and another human being to kind of recreate the way this
Lining
cover
those
looks.
up is so hard.
Yes.
Like sometimes you just can't get the proportions right in spite of trying like different distances away from the book and different distances away from the camera. It's just really, really hard. But yeah, you can do that a lot with the ones that are like just a torso, or you can do it with the ones that are fully like half a face
Half a
or
face,
something like
yeah.
that.
Totally.
And match up. And those are always, when they're done well, they're so good.
They're really cool.
And sometimes when they're not done well, they're just hilarious.
Yes, definitely. Well, I find it funny that they have this list on Goodreads because, especially for librarians and booksellers, like we're constantly looking for the next good display.
Right.
So having a resource like that where we can get a list of all of the books that have that the torso, then we can just throw a display together really quick and put something up, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so smart!" Mm-hmm. So,
I will say, I think a display of like, because to counter that headless women trend, there's also a lot of books that are just like fully a person's face. One of my favorite books is like that. And I do think a display that's just all books like that would be mildly terrifying.
probably yes.
When I was the media intern at the library and we did DVD displays, my first full year there, I took DVD covers that were like zoomed in on people's faces and put fake mustaches on them for No Shave November.
I love everything about this.
It was...
Why weren't we?
I want reusable googly eyes that we can put on them.
yes.
That'd be fun.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Honestly, I might do that this year.
Please.
should.
There are so many fun googly eyes. I just got googly eyes for the guessing jar. That dates this recording. Sorry. But there's like multicolored ones, but there are dragon eye ones.
And they're massive.
They're so cool.
Yes.
They're different sizes. There's smaller ones too.
Oh,
They're
really?
so fun.
Okay.
I want them.
All right, back to topic. Hardcover versus paperback covers. Because sometimes they change them, right?
Sometimes they change them drastically.
Yeah, like it's completely different than anything. Especially if like the paperback is, like this, it's a reissue 30 years later, like Dune, they completely redid the covers for those and made them a little more modern. So people still want to read them. But
There's one that I always think of. I didn't bring a printout of this because I didn't think of it in prep, but it was The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocum, where when the hardcover was put out, it's this like ruddy red cover with a violin on it and like half the face of a guy staring out. And it's this like ominous thing, and it fit the vibe of the book really well. We read it for my book club.
okay.
And then the paperback came out, and it's like a glowing yellow cover with like an artsy, colorful violin on it and nothing else. And
It doesn't have the vibe.
it doesn't have the vibe.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm trying to remember because I know there are some books that I've seen them do covers, and it's completely like you wouldn't even think it's in the same genre anymore.
Yeah.
And I cannot, for the life of me,
Well,
come up with the ones
something that
I know.
happens in youth a lot is that, we get the the movie adaptation cover, which I can tell you honestly, like, okay, that's fine. It's going to sit on our shelf and it might be interesting to somebody for about a year. But then let's just go back to what the regular cover was, because after that, they're going to look at it and they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, I didn't like that movie. Why would I want to read that? But the book could be perfectly good.
Audience, I will need you to Google largest eye roll in history to understand what Killian did when this was brought up.
I despise
movie adaptations.
Movie tie-in covers. And I have forever, basically. Even when I was younger and they would make a book that I liked into a movie or something, I was like, I just want the book cover. Like, I want the book cover. But now I have even more of a problem with it because of Wicked. Because that book and that movie are so completely different in vibe, in audience, and everything. And sticking the movie cover on the book makes people think that it is like
exactly
the movie, and it's not. Like, that should never have been done. And I know I haven't had it happen directly to me, but I know I've seen librarians talk about how they'll have people come in and their kid will see the movie cover. They've seen the movie. They see Ariana Grande on the cover. And they're like, I want to read this. Please vet the books if they have an adaptation cover on them, because that one is the most misleading that I can think of off the top of my head. And it is, like I said, I despise media tie-in covers, and it's just such a good example of part of the reason, but also I just like book covers as their own art.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that happens with classics. You know, somebody came along and decided that they were going to do the Golden Compass series on film, right? And that happened, and it was fine and whatever. But that book was, well, it wasn't a great movie. But again, so that kind of like taints the way that people think about that book. The book was around a long time before somebody decided to make that into a movie. And so, like, is a kid going to look at that cover and say, oh my gosh, I want to read that? No, because the movie sucked. So, like, are we losing an audience member there? Like, I get it, and there is a purpose, and I'm sure people that do marketing and stuff are just like, yeah, it's the best thing ever, but it isn't always for us, because we're keeping these books sometimes for 20 years. Do we really want the cover of the movie on our shelf for 20 years?
And I even... because before the Wicked movie, they did the Wicked musical tie-in cover for the book. And no, my copy of Wicked is the original Wicked cover because I went, no media tie-in.
Yeah.
Like, it's... And now that's just what people associate with Wicked is the musical cover.
Sure.
And people are like, what do you mean there was a cover before that? Okay, well, I tried. But...
Okay, so let's talk about special editions, because I know that you guys have feelings about special editions or limited runs. Let's talk about those a little bit. Do you guys like sprayed edges?
So Killian and I...
We're going to have to do a blog post for this episode, and we're going to have to show ourselves.
I know. So Killian and I both sort of leaned into the books as decoration aesthetic for our homes.
Okay. Which I love.
Which is great.
It's beautiful. It's stunning. I do not regret that. However,
it's caused some problems.
Okay.
In that any book becomes justifiable to purchase because it will fit the vibe.
Okay.
And that's how we end up with 4 copies of Wolfsong for me, 5 copies of Legends and Lattes for her.
Okay.
Entire shelves of Fairy Loot special editions.
which is, most of mine are Fairy Loot, Rainbow Crate, Owl Crate, Illuma Crate. I'm like, I'm missing one of those subscriptions I've had at some point.
Which, explain those to our audience members,
These
please.
are all book subscription boxes that I have at least at one time or another subscribed to and regularly received monthly books from.
And they do very decorative versions of the books. So
Okay.
they'll redesign the covers. They'll put, gold leaf or gold foil on it.
Okay.
Do really intricate sprayed edges sometimes. Oftentimes there'll be art end papers of characters and scenes.
Wow.
It's like even the hard case is special, and sometimes that is in and of itself printed with artwork of scenes or characters.
Okay.
But sometimes it's just, inlaid with gold foiling and it's really elaborately decorated. Works of art. Truly works of art. A lot of them come either signed or digitally signed by the authors. And I love a good signed book.
Who doesn't?
But they are truly beautiful. But the problem is you get these subscriptions and they are a monthly thing. And some of them limit the number of times you can skip. So you can, and a lot of them don't tell you what the books are beforehand.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you know ahead of time?
They will drop hints, things like that. And you can definitely find blogs that will list like what everything that they could figure out was.
Okay.
So do I go through every month and check what my subscriptions are so I can skip things where needed? Yes, I do. But there are a lot of books that would I have bought it if it wasn't, a Fairy Loot book that I was out of skips at the time, or I was like, well, it doesn't sound bad, and I would like to keep my skip for, a book that I really don't want. So I have a lot of books where I used to have a lot of books and I knew every single one of them, and like if you named a book in my collection, I could tell you where it was. I can't do that with my Fairy Loot books.
And it's gotten to the point with those. I canceled my Fairy Loot because I started realizing, there are so many of these books that I'm never going to read. And that's cool. I like them as art.
Sure.
But I don't need to be on this like recurring basis for it. So my Fairy Loot shelves at home have the sprayed edges facing out.
Okay.
Because they're there for decoration.
Yeah.
I don't really care what the book is.
Okay.
And a lot of mine are out, are sprayed edge out as well. Whether they're books I'm interested in or not, the edges are pretty.
Cool.
They're just pretty.
Well, and we're seeing a little bit more of that in like regular publishing too, where, like Impossible Creatures, which was a book that I have talked about in a previous podcast episode, came with red sprayed edges that just looks really cool with the cover. And we're seeing more of that. Even paperbacks. I saw paperbacks that had sprayed edges, and I was like, "Look at you!"
Really, really frequent. Whether it's a Barnes and Noble will often have an exclusive edition, and so sometimes it's the Barnes and Noble exclusive sprayed edge, but other times it's just that's how they're publishing it first. And I have mixed feelings about them on paperbacks, just because paperbacks are so easy to beat up.
Yeah. But granted, if they're just going to live on somebody's shelf as a decoration, then maybe it's okay to have it as paperback.
It certainly shows that it has the backing of the whole marketing engine of the publishing house behind them.
Yeah.
That they want you to stop at the shelves and look at this.
Right.
And they're doing that with the decorative covers and with all of the embellishments and just trying to give 3 or 4 books a year per publishing house, that sort of leg up.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. All right, well, let's talk about some of the covers that we brought with us today.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I kind of brought a smattering of things. What do you guys have?
I have a collection. I don't plan on talking about all of them, but...
Okay.
I have a few.
Okay, cool. I just want to talk about there's this paperback that was on the new shelf in adult, and I had walked past it because it was cover out, and I was like, what is that? And the title is Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill. And I passed it by and I moved on, but then one of my coworkers was reading it and she was like, look, you've got to read this. And she just slammed it down on the desk next to me. And I was like, you know what? I was already looking at it. There was something about it that I enjoyed about the cover. And I started reading it, and it's it's so good. I absolutely loved everything about it. But I didn't realize until halfway through reading this book that if you look really closely at the cover, there is like a spooky bit. So it's like, it's got a lot of plants and it looks like it's aquatic, watery, like lilies and stuff like that. And you can see the letters of the title and, you know, of course, the author's name. But if you look closely, you can see the character. And she is a Jenny Greenteeth, and she's got very sharp, creepy teeth and creepy eyes, but she's just in the water behind everything. And I was like, oh my God, I love this even more now. Like there was part of it that drew me to it to begin with, and I didn't even see all of it until I got through a little bit through this book. So beautifully done. Absolutely loved it.
Okay, so when I was talking about typography with like graphic stuff around it, I kept looking at that cover across the table because like that's exactly what I'm talking about.
All you see is the letters.
And then I didn't like, and I could see the plants. I was like, this is cool. Okay, cool. And then you mentioned the creepy bit and you picked it up and I saw it. And my jaw dropped. I'm like, I didn't even notice that for everything else.
Exactly.
So yeah, wild.
Well done.
Yep. Unsurprisingly, because I'm going to talk about it again, my favorite book series, Green Creek series by TJ Klune. I brought all 4 covers in here. Those are dioramas that like an artist put together and then took a picture of.
No way.
Wow.
Like there are behind the scenes bits of it being made.
Let me see this.
And like everything has layers to it and it's so intricate. Like you can only buy the prints from the artist for $125 a pop. Like that is how
I can see like the texture and it looks like it's fabric and paper.
They're all mixed media materials.
That's amazing.
And then taken pictures of them.
Again, did not notice because all I saw was typically this from far away. But that is really wonderful. Nice. Awesome. Very cool.
I mentioned a book earlier. I think I mentioned it. Or did I just mention it when we were talking? I don't know. But I know I've talked about Siren Queen on the podcast before. One of my favorite books. And it is a book that I picked up purely because of the cover. I had not heard of this book or this author or anything. And then Drew and I were actually at a Barnes & Noble. And I went, oh my gosh, this cover. And it is an up-close photograph. You've seen this.
I have seen this.
It is an up-close photograph. And it is just so beautifully composed with this woman's face, very dark lipstick, some smoke drifting and the hair. And this whole book is set in the golden age of Hollywood, and it very much fits that vibe. And I don't know, the book like looked into my soul and said, you need to take me home. And I said, okay. Yeah. So here we are.
Not going to argue with you there. That's awesome.
But
cool. I love it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. It's so good.
All right. Well, I would like to invite our audience to email us and let us know if you have any thing you'd like to add to our conversation, any favorite book covers, or any time that you have seen a book and you're like, what on earth is going on with this thing? You can email us and let us know, and we will talk about it on the air.
Send us cool book covers or weird book covers.
Absolutely.
And everything in between.
Totally. And that's all for now. We will see you next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Distracted Librarians.
Many thanks to BCTV for their support in recording, editing, and releasing this podcast, and to the Friends of the Library for sponsoring closed captioning on every episode.
If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to reach out to us at distracted@btpl.org.
Until then, keep those pages turning and those screens lighting up. We'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions expressed in the Distracted Librarians podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Bloomfield Township, Bloomfield Township Public Library, Bloomfield Community Television, the Birmingham Area Cable Board, or its producers or production staff.